Okay, so I'm going to talk about the different letters that existed in Middle English that don't exist today in modern English. The first letter I want to talk about is fawn. So fawn looks like a B and a P put together, and it's still used in modern Icelandic to this day. It makes a F sound, and it was used in the English language from about 500 AD to about 1500 AD. And an example sentence where you would find a fawn is, for example, "That is Jamie," which means that is Jamie. The reason why the fawn fell out of use was because the printing press came into existence in the 15th century, and all the typewriters in Europe didn't have this letter on their machines, so they ended up replacing it with a Y as it was the closest thing, and it just became common to replace this with a Y, and eventually we just removed the Y. So we also had the long S. So the long S made an S sound, and it was used from the 1500s to the 1800s, and an example sentence where this was used is, for example, the Belfast Times, where they just replaced an S with the long S. The reason why the long S fell out of use was because I think it was very confusing, and you didn't really need it. I mean, why would you replace an S with a letter that looks incredibly like an F? The next letter I want to talk about is eng. And eng made an ng sound, and it was used in the 1600s and fell out of use in the 1600s. And an example sentence where you would use an ng is, for example, "I am talking." The final letter that I want to talk about is yoch. So the yoch made a multitude of sounds, including ch, y, w, and S. And the yoch was used between the 1200s and the 1400s, and an example sentence where you would see the yoch is, for example, "for night." The reason why the yoch fell out of use is because over the centuries it became more and more similar to a fancy Z. Of course, it looks like a 3 now, but back in the 1400s they used like these fancy Zs that looked incredibly like a 3, and they became more and more similar, and I think at the end of the day they just said, well, screw it, we're just going to remove it entirely because it's just confusing. So those are some of the letters that were used in Middle English that aren't used today in modern English. See you tomorrow.